Okay, so today I'm going to teach you how to reconcile your checkbook for January. Right now we have this as our checkbook register for January. We have left off with an ending balance of $350.24. Please check yours, and you can pause it here to see where you've made your mistakes in terms of your check register for the month of January. Once you are at the same point that I am at, let's move on. We're going to talk about the reconciliation. The reconciliation is down at the bottom of your page. Down here. Notice you get an account statement from the bank. The account statement comes at the end of each month. This account statement came on January 31st, 2014 from your bank. The bank says that you began with a beginning balance of $0 and you ended with a balance of $160.80. This is interesting because you thought that you ended with a balance of $350.24. So therefore, there's some discrepancies in terms of what you thought and what the bank thought. That's why we reconcile the account, to make sure that there's no mistakes. Some reasons why you might have a different ending balance than the bank has is that sometimes you will write a check and you'll record the check in your checkbook register, but the bank will not record the check in their summary of what you've done because the person you wrote the check to hasn't cashed the check yet. So the bank has no idea that you've written the check until they cash it. Additionally, if you make a deposit at the end of the month, the bank may have already published its statement before you made the deposit. Therefore, the deposit at the end of the month may not show up on this bank statement. It may come in February's bank statement. And last but not least, the bank sometimes charges you things. Like here, they're charging you a service charge of $5. You don't know that until you get your bank statement. So those are 3 reasons why your account balance and the bank's account balance may be different. So let's figure out how to reconcile. There's 3 steps to reconciling. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. I'm sorry, there's 4 steps to reconciling. The first thing says check off entries in register that match entries on the statement. So here are all of our entries on our account statement from the bank. We're going to find them up in our checkbook register and put a check mark on them. So the first one is a deposit of $717.20. So I'm going to come up here to my checkbook register and I see $717.20. I'm going to put a check mark there. The next one that the bank records is check 101 for $35.24. I go back to my register and I find $35.24 and I put a check mark by it. The next one that the bank records is check 103 for $40. I go up to my register and I check off $40. Now notice that I skipped check 102 for $24. I'm going to put a big circle around that. That is known as an outstanding check. That means that the bank has no clue that you wrote that check because the person or the company you wrote it to has not yet cashed it. So we're going to leave that one open. The next one is check 104 for $41.80. I'm going to come back up here and I am going to put a check mark on it. The next one that we have is check 105 for $120.24. I'm going to come down here and check it off. And then we have check 107 for $314.12. So if you notice, we have $33.93 open still, and we have a deposit for $692.37 open still, and we have check 108 for $450 open still. Don't worry about the service charge yet. We haven't gotten there yet. So right now, yours should look like mine. pause here and check that it looks like mine. Okay, so go ahead and cross off step 1 in your reconciliation. Step 1 said to check off entries in the register that matched entries on the statement. We did that, so we're going to cross that one off. Okay. Step 2 says list the checks and other payments that are still outstanding. Outstanding checks means that you've written a check or you've made a payment that hasn't been recorded by the bank. So those are going to be, if you want to draw a little line here with a cheat sheet, those are going to be any debits that are not checked. So if we go back up to our register and we look in the debit column, this is the debit column, we're going to look for those outstanding checks, those checks that we've written but have not been cashed. Therefore, they'll be the ones with the open circle in them. So the first one that we have is check 102 for $24. We're going to record that over here where it says payments outstanding. Check 102 for $24. Then we have down here check 106 for $33.93. We're going to come down here and record that again. And last but not least, we have check 108 for $450. We're going to come down here and we're going to record that for a total of payments outstanding of $507.93. Now that number, if you see that arrow, gets just rewritten over here, $507.93. Okay? So let's check off step 2. We did that. Now some of you might be wondering, why didn't she use $692.37 when she was checking? It has a circle. That's because this is in the credit column. And things in the credit column we don't put under payments outstanding. We'll come back to this and use this one later. Alright, the next step is step 3. Step 3 says subtract bank charges from your checkbook. So we said before this service charge was given to us by the bank. This could be because we took money out of an ATM or we didn't keep a minimum balance in our account. There's lots of reasons why they might charge us a service charge. But this one's for $5. So we're going to subtract it from our checkbook. That's going to be the last thing that we take off. So we're going to put the date of 1/30, the description is a service charge. It's going to be a debit of $5 because it's coming out of our bank account, and we're always going to check off our service charges when we put them in our register because they are definitely also on the account statement. We're going to subtract $5 from the ending balance to get a grand ending balance of $345.24. Okay? Moving right along, we can now cross off step 3. We finished step 3. Step 4 is the last step. Step 4 says complete the reconciliation form shown below, which is right here. So we're just going to go find everything it's asking us for. The first thing it wants to know is what our ending balance is on the statement. And above statement, put bank. This is the bank statement that they want to know from. So we're going to go to the bank statement, which is attached. And if you notice right here, they're giving us our ending balance of $160.80. So I'm going to write that here where it says ending balance on statement of $160.80. Then it tells us to add any deposits not shown. If you guys want to draw an arrow and make a cheat sheet, that these are going to be those credits that are not checked. So we're going to go up to a register and let's find any credits. So we're looking in this right-hand column that are not check marked. Well, we only have 2 credits. The first one is checked, but the second one is not. So this one for $692.37 was at the end of the month. See, it was on January 31st. That's probably why the bank didn't record it. They had probably already written their bank statement. So we're going to put it here, and it tells us, circle this right here, it tells us to add those 2 together. We're going to add those 2 together, $160.80 plus $692.37, to get a subtotal of $853.17. From that, we're going to subtract, go ahead and circle subtract, our payments outstanding, which we already found to be $507.93 for a balance of $345.24. This balance right here, if you notice, this right here is the exact same as our register balance, which means we have reconciled correctly, and we can now go on to the month of February. If these two do not equal each other, we should never go on to the month of February. Instead, we should go back into our account register and our reconciliation form and see where we went wrong. Until we do this, we should never go on. Otherwise, the rest of our checkbook packet will be wrong. We're going to carry this balance from January of $345.24 to our beginning balance and start off February with $345.24 in our account.